I wanted to talk to you about the leaves on this one. We are not doing the leaves like this. It will not be included in any kit. It will not. So I don't hope I can make that clear enough. I will tell you where you can get it and what it is and how to do it. So this is called wire lace. It is not cheap. I happened to get mine from a D-Stash group. That's why I had it. And it's really fun to work with. I'll show you a couple of other examples that I have done. There are my roses that I did on a necklace, which was fun. And I also used it just in the part of the necklace. But it's really fun to pull apart, push together, do all kinds of fun things with. So it comes like this. You can buy it in a yard section or I think 10-yard section. And like I said, it is not real cheap. It comes from alacarteclasp.com. And we are using wire lace, and it's actually, on this one, it's actually a tube. If you can see it, it actually is a tube. But I use it as just one part, and what is so cool is you can pull it out, and you can just do whatever, make whatever you want to with this stuff. You can squish it back in, and if you don't like it, then you just take it and you'll go yoink, and there you go. So it's a lot of fun to play with if you've got some stuff that you want to try. And like I said, this is 6mm. I think the next one up is a 12mm, but you want to be careful. There's some smaller ones. I think it goes down to 2 or 4. So especially when you're doing a leaf, because you need that part to pull out, otherwise it's not long enough. So I used about 1.5 inches on my leaves. On this one I did 5. You remember the rule of 3. You always do things odd number, because that's what nature does. Our flowers should be 5, but you don't give them evenly spaced around that stone with 5. So that's the reason they're 6. But there is 3 of them. So we have 3. So it is more pleasing to the eye. And on the one that we're working on, we're just going to put 3 stones on it. But to show you how it works, I said about 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to add an extra wire to mine right now so I can just show you how this works and then get rid of it and not worry about it messing up anything else I'm doing. So we'll do it on this side. You would take your wire. If you wanted to do more than one, you could, but one would probably be easier. And you want it fatter, like at the bottom, than at the top. So pull it out and pull it going forward. Pull it out as far as you can, and then kind of pull it as you're going forward. And then I kind of pulled it to a tip. I did put a little bit of 527 on some other ones I did on my gourd. I don't think I have anything, and I just kind of pinched it off. It is wire. So then all I did was take my wire and I went in and out and in and out all the way up and down the middle until I got to the top. And then I decided how long I wanted it, and I left it just a little bit. Let's just bring that down right there like I would if I was doing it a little bit longer on top. And I took my pliers and I hooked it over, and so it's on that part of the lace, and I squished it together. And it really is that simple. other than my wire not holding right there, to do. You could make them bigger or smaller. That's up to you. If you get your own, again, that was alacarteclass.com. It is wire lace. We're doing silver, and this is 6mm. The teardrops come in all fun colors and shapes and sizes and stuff like that. Purple and fuchsia and green and jade, turquoise, of course, is the most popular and the easiest for me to get. So that's why we used it. But there's a bunch of different stones out there. If you wanted your flower different, go look for them and see what you can find. The sharper the point comes in, the better the flower comes in. I would like these to be a little bit, they're kind of pudgy to me, but they're going to work just fine. Making a flower, I do things and then I forget how I do them, so I have to stop and reteach myself unless I made a video. Now I made a video, so I will remember, and I tried to make it the easiest way I possibly could to teach you. So we're going to cut 2 pieces of wire about 12 inches. This gives us a little bit of wiggle room to wire them on as we're going. And I have kept these red centers for a long time because I knew these are the size that we needed for these flowers. So if you do get one of our kits, these are what we have. And if you don't, you just want to try to find a stone that will fit the best size that you can inside of your little drop there. So we're going to first start with that red bead. And another reason we're using the 24 gauge wire is because we can get 2 of these into this bead. Otherwise that may be very tight. Now I'm going to go to one side a little bit longer and the other side a little bit longer. So you have a long one and a short one on both sides. And we're going to start, and we're going to use, and we're also going to put your silver beads in there because that you have to find the right size of these. I think these are 8mm. And I'm not sure how many millimeters our redstone is. We'll take a look later and see if we can figure that out for you. And 2, and then we're going to do 3 of the silver beads and 3 of the teardrops. If I can get these little suckers on. I do not use silver beads. I do not use real silver beads. I do not use real silver beads. They tarnish. So there is a reason I don't do that. So if you want to keep them bright and shiny, then do it with the non-silver beads. So we're going to use sinew. And this is going to help us. It's kind of a little cheat, but there is no cheat when it helps you do something better. I used to be a toll painter, and they always told the other students that they couldn't use their outline pins. And if you liked using it, made your life easier, who tells you you can't? So this is going to make our life easier. This is going to help us shape our flower easier. The reason I'm using sinew is for a couple of reasons. It's strong, but it's waxy. So when I tie it, it stays tight and doesn't slip like regular thread will. Now I'm going to start with this silver bead here. I'm not going through the red one at all at any time. And we're going to go through all of these beads. If they're not straight, you may have to do a couple at a time. Make sure you have a needle that will go through your beads threaded. Sometimes it'll go through your beads and then you add the thread and it won't. So we've gone through those beads, and we have 3 of each. Now we're going to come over to our long side, and we're going to do the same on this side. And if you need to stop and do this one part at a time, play it through once and then do it and stop it and do the flower little by little, that's okay. It may take a little bit to get here. Alright, so we have 3 on this side and 3 on that side of each of those beads. So now that would come that way, and that would come that way. So we're going to kind of lay this together a little bit here, a little bit form. Now see where this silver bead is? We kind of want to form that really close up next to our coral bead. That red bead in the middle and those flowers around that. You see how that is right there? We've got that nice and tight. And here's our thread. So we're going to come through this bead. And I lost my thread. That's okay. But this bead needs to be picked up first. So we're going to come through this one and then all of these, depending on how many we can get through here. If they're not laying straight, or how long your needle is. I'm going to pull it out here and jump. Put on those last 2. What you're doing is creating the flower with the thread, so it's easier to do with the wire, if that makes sense. So you're meeting up over here. So you should be through all of your beads. You should not have missed any beads except the inside red ones. So now we want to lay that guy down a bit and pull this together. And we're going to tighten it up just a little bit more here on that side. And a little bit more here on this side. Now, do you see how that guy just squished together from there to there? We don't want any opening between it. Now, when we come to tie this, it's going to be easier to tie because it is not thread. And instead of just doing 1 time, I'm doing 2 times, and that helps hold that knot till you get that second knot in. Try not to make this harder than it is. And if you have to redo it and make a little bit tighter, that's okay. So while I've got that, before I put that away, I'm going to pull that down there a bit. Let's go ahead and get rid of this string now. What we're going to do, cut them both the same size, and we're going to run it through a couple of beads and cut it. But that has made our life a whole lot easier than just trying to do it with just the wire. So I'm going to try and get it through this silver bead and this turquoise bead. And then we're going to trim it. You could take it further if you felt it needed to go further. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm actually going to turn mine this way. Well, it doesn't matter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap around each stone, and what this does is keep this flower together and from wiggling so much. And so I'm going to take this first long one, and we're going to go down behind this turquoise stone. I'll do it on the front here. Okay, so we're going to do it up and around the silver bead. So down in front of the turquoise stone. Try not to get it pinched. I have this flower a little bit looser than I would like, so we're going behind, up, and around the turquoise stone. And up and around that turquoise stone, and we're going to stop with that wire, and we're going to switch over to our other long wire there as soon as I get that nice and tight. So now I have this other long turquoise one. I'm going to leave this guy alone. And we're going to go in front of this stone first, just for some extra support before we go behind it. And then up and around the silver bead. Up, behind, and around the silver bead. Up, and leave that guy there. We're going to take that around that silver bead, and we're going to push him to the back. And you will notice how much more stable that your flower is. You can already see the difference in it. And you can see the back, how we've got the little loops, and the front. And I'd like him a little bit tighter. I might take him out and do him one more time. See, these guys are nice and tight. I think when I tied my sinew off, it should have been a little bit tighter. I think that kind of slacked up on me. Another thing that we could do, believe it or not, is run a sinew through it again and tie it again, and that may just tighten that right up. And I like to leave things like this in my videos. A lot of teachers don't. But if I have an issue with it, how many of you did? So that is one of the reasons that I try to leave things like this in here, because I'm learning. Are you learning? So this silver guy right here is separated from his stone quite a bit. So I'm going to leave that tail a little bit longer, but I'm going to go through all of the stones. I'll probably have to do them, beat the beads one by one, except for the red one. We don't go through that red one. But it really isn't that hard. It's just getting it nice and tight and then twisting it at the end. If your flower is flopping around and you can't figure out why, then you didn't do the beads. And if you'd rather just do one long one and continuously wrap that around, you can do that. I can't find this little hole. Instead of stopping halfway through and switching tails on the the beads, on the wire, excuse me. So we're gonna go ahead, get this all the way wrapped around. You got to make sure you don't get these wires in it. That's the one thing I have issues with. And see, that wire right there should be on the other side of that turquoise, or excuse me, silver bead, and that made a huge difference on how tight he was. So know things like that do make a difference. And I've got this silver bead so tight over here I can't get through to him. So we're almost there. But you've got 3 of these to work on. You've got plenty of wire from your roll. Do them a few times. Do them to where you like them. If you're not happy with it, redo it. You don't have to keep that one. So practice, practice, practice. Even me, I have to practice, practice, practice. Okay, so now that we've got this guy all the way through again, I'm going to see if I can get him tighter. Try not to do it too tight that I break it. 1, 2. There. That made a huge difference. I can already tell. And get that in there nice and tight again. And one more. And we'll tie those off and run them through a bead. But look how the difference that made. That made just a total difference. So you're going to just push that through a couple of those. Now these guys, we're just going to pull to the back and we're going to twist them. And they're going to go on our wires the way they are. So that's all we're doing, is just bringing those down and twisting them. So get your flowers done. Practice till you're happy with them. And then we'll put them on our stems. So I'm going to explain the flower a little bit again, and then we're going to do it one more time. This is the most important thing of this whole piece, so I want to make sure that everybody gets it. And I know it can be a little bit confusing. So I am going to draw it, and then I'm going to do it one more time. So we have our red coral piece. And we take 2 pieces of wire, and I'm going to do it different this next time. I'm just going to do 1 piece wrap all the way through. So we've got these 2 pieces of wire. So first of all, you're going to bend them. You're going to put a silver bead on. You're going to put a teardrop on, a silver bead, a teardrop, a silver bead, and a teardrop. So we're going to do the exact same thing on the other direction. You're going to have a silver bead here, a teardrop. Let's see if I can get right on these here. A teardrop, a silver bead, a teardrop, a silver bead, and a teardrop. So this lines up with this silver bead here. So that comes over here, and this one lines up with this silver bead here. So when you get done, they will all be next to each other right around the flower. So there's that. And so we have 3 and 3 on each side, so a total of 6 and 6 silver beads. Then I come in here and I tie them off, all of them together, with my sinew, and tie that nice and tight. And then after I do that, we're going to take one of our long wires. Let's say I left that guy long. And I'm going to wrap under the teardrop around the silver bead, under the teardrop around the silver bead, under the teardrop around the silver bead, and just keep on going like that until we get all the way through. So try not to think about making it too hard. And then once we get these, you'll pull these down, twist them off, and that is our flower. So let's do it one more time. And it's easier said than done, I know. But hopefully that kind of helps visualize it a little bit for you as well. I'm going to do one. And I'm going to do one just a little bit. And like I said, instead of splitting the two wires this time, I'm just going to wrap it all the way with one when we get there. And that's what makes that flower sturdy. Otherwise, it wiggles back and forth like we talked about. Going through both of those holes with our wire. I'm going to leave this guy longer. And let's make sure I don't have him. So we're doing this side first. So we will do a silver bead, a teardrop, that one's stuck together, a silver bead, a teardrop, a silver bead. If you're absolutely having problems with the flowers, send me an email and we'll see what we can do to help you. I might be able to get some of them together for you. We've been discussing that a little bit. We'll see. Doing the same thing on the other side. 3 of each. I'll keep picking up that double bead. I have to get it out of there. And my last one. So we have all of those to make our flower, all right there. So remember what we do first is we're going to run this through, and it does not go through the red stone. This is our sinew. If you don't have any of that, bluewhalearts.com, I know carries it. It's artificial. Looking for an interesting story, read what it used to be made out of. The Indians, I believe, were the first ones to use it. And we went through that side. Now we're going to come and go through this side and make our circle. The more you make, the easier it gets, like I've said. Okay, so I don't want to lose it on this side. Make sure we have it. So before I pull this tight, I'm going to kind of bend my wires a little bit here, just to give it that shape. So we're going to bend. I'm going to pull this guy a little bit more, so I have just a little bit more room. And bend him around our red stone. I'm going to pick up the slack in my thread, and then we're going to kind of bend it around on that one. So we're kind of all laid nice and neat there. We've got our shape going, and let's tie this off. Don't pull it so tight that you break it. So I'm going to do 1, 2, because we talked about how that helps hold that knot in place. And let's get you going nice and tight here. There should be no room between any of your beads. And I'm going to tie it 3 times just to make sure I have it nice and tight. I'm going to just run this guy off while I can. We're just hiding him away, that's all we're doing. And you can go through more than one if you feel you need to. I'm doing these in separate turns. I might go the other direction on the other one. If you wanted to glue it on the inside, you could with like E6000 to hold it down. But I don't see the reason you need to. This is just reinforcing your wires to make it easier for you. And I just threaded the thread I cut off. So we're going to go through there and up into that silver bead, hopefully, if we can get there. If not, we'll just go through the teardrop. Okay, we are done with that part. So we have one thing left to do. Remember, if you get there and you can't figure out what's wrong with your flowers, you haven't ran your wire around yet. So we're going to do that now. So we have it on this side of the silver bead, so we're going to go around that silver bead. Make sure it stays there. You don't want to crimp your wire. And pull that nice and tight and go behind the teardrop. These little guys don't have quite as much of a tip as my other ones did, so they don't quite stay in place as nice. I'm going to just do him a little bit more there. So we're going to go around, down through, around that silver bead, pulling that nice and tight. You don't want that to kink up on you. And behind and around our silver bead on that side of him. And we're just going to keep going here. So lay those wires wherever you need to put them so that they're not in our way. Now we would have switched off wires on the other one, but we're going to keep going straight on this one. So if you have it and you need to do an extra loop, that's fine. If you needed to do one on one side of here, the other side of here, and the other side of there, do that. However it works for you. I can already feel the strength in the flower holding up. And I think we're back to where we started. And on that side of the silver bead. So hopefully that was a little bit more explainable. And can see we have those going on the back. They should all kind of look like that. In fact, I do not have it from here to here. I can see that, so I'm going to do that. Okay, now we're going to lay that on the back. We're going to twist these guys a little bit just to hold them in nice place. So we can wire wrap them on later. But, see the difference? Isn't that good? And so let's do 3 of those, and we'll start to put our wire together on the rest of our gourd. So we're going to kind of look at how we're going to do these, or set these in. And I've done these different than the gemstone tree, so know that this part anyway. And we've got a couple down here. We've got 2 down there with 4 wires going in each of those. 1 here. We've got 1 here, 1 here, and 1 there and there. So kind of think about where they're going to go, if I can say that right. And we're going to kind of head that direction, if that makes sense. You can always change it. This is just a guideline. We want a flower here, we want a flower here, and we want one kind of in the middle of our space. So I want to think about, we actually just want like a couple right there, and then I've moved up a little bit, and I did a couple right here, almost in a row here, 3, 4, 5, and again, this is just an idea. And then I did about 2, I'm getting those a little bit high, that needs to stay in the middle, kind of just a little bit over from there. So remember, again, that's just an idea that we want to kind of think about as we're working. So we've kind of got this one about as far up as we want to go. Remember, we talked about the thirds. We've done a third, and a third. So we've got it in 3 parts. So we want to think about this guy coming off to the side over here. And you could do 4, you could do 6, you could do whatever you think that you needed to do. Let's see, we have 12, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we're going to be putting them back in as doubles as long as we can, not individuals, which makes a big difference because on the tree we do them kind of individually. So let's think about running that guy off to the side, and I'm going to take 4 wires. We're going to split that 2 and 2. Again, we want to keep going clockwise here, and we have that nice and bent there. We've got our first leaf in there. Again, this is really a personal thing though. If you want to do something different, by all means do it different. I am not right. There is no right, there is no wrong. Everybody has their own vision of what something should be. So make it yours. Don't think it has to look exactly like the teachers. That was my biggest problem when I have taught, is getting the students to know that yours is not going to look like mine. And we also want to think about where we want our other 2 leaves. And I do know where I want mine. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. We want to kind of just stop and think about where this is going. And I think we kind of have a pretty good lock on that part of it. I want to twist it to get it a little bit, there we go, a little bit more shape into it. And then I want to separate and probably twist down from there. That's good, because remember, your wire moves, and sometimes if I want one here and one there, I'll do those first, and then everything else will kind of fit in more evenly. It's easier to kind of fill it in, and you don't lose your spacing, I guess is what I am trying to say there. So I am doing the individual ones now. Back to 2s. And we're not going to do a lot here, but I want them twisted really well. So that one, I'm going to come back in and tighten that up. Give it some movement. And then the same way here. I'll kind of look at those holes in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and finish twisting that off, and we'll talk about the holes. So we're going to talk about, I have these 2 over here, but we want to make sure that our flowers fit. So we've got one here, we've got one here, and I either want to put this one up higher and have a leaf, or lower and have a leaf up here. And I think the leaf should go up here, maybe on the very edge, but we've got to make sure that we have room for all of these. And then this one I want to put up at the very top, so that we've got those spaced far enough that we can get them all fit in. That's another reason it's so important to have the open space on your gourd big enough. So this little guy, it's going to be our first one to get on. And I've tried to make sure that I've got these, that they're going to fit in the holes right there. And that we want them curved, not straight. So we're going to go ahead and put our one flower on, and just going to take that and wrap that around our pre-existing wire. If you want to wrap it in, you can wrap it in. If you want to if you want to run that towards the middle and hide it behind the flower, if you feel that that shouldn't be seen, do it that way. Just make sure that you have this on nice and secure. I'm going to run mine to the middle. I'm just going to run it around my wire. Now if you were really brave and you think you can do the flower right on the strand, go ahead and do that as well. I'm sure that's how I did mine the first time through, but sure not the easiest way. You want that to look and lay down as nice as you can. You can work it into the other strands, you can do that, or you can just simply trim it off when you get it behind a point or an area, or just push that all the way in. Tighten it up with your pliers. One more on this side. A few years ago, I didn't know if I was going to be able to use my hands to do this again. Thank God he is good. I've got too much to do still. Okay, so I am going to trim that guy off. I actually knocked another one of those wires off, but he's behind there, so nobody is going to see him. It will not matter. And I'm going to start this guy. And I'm going to get him in with the double ones of these first. And then I am just going to start wrapping him on the one going out. Okay. And we are literally there with that one. So I'm going to take my wire, set them aside, get these 2 holes drilled in. And I am going to take the first one through. You can cut those off smaller if you want to. You could actually save these wires and make pins out of the leftovers with the flowers. We're going to pull that all the way in. So we've got that nice and tight. We're going to come back over here and we're going to twist these 2 wires together up the side of the gourd, away from the hole so they do not show up. We want that tight enough, again, but not too tight that we would crack our gourd. We're going to pull that up and out of the way. And we're going to cut these off as we're going. That way you don't have to sit there and fight with the wire. Just bring my wire cutters in there and trim that. And if you want to, you can even take your pliers and turn that kind of in so that it is not sticking out. Let's go to our next one. We've got that little bit from the other one, so I'm going to put 2 down into the gourd and 2 behind. So you can get those separated. Cut them together first. Okay, come on. We were just talking about working. Let's work now. Okay. And I'm going to stick those 2 down through the hole. And bring that around back, get that nice and tight. Bring the other 2 around. And wire wrap those going towards the back of the gourd. Okay, you are nice and comfortable with that. Again, make sure that that tip is not sticking out to poke you. Lay that back down. If a person wanted to, or if you have a little one that you can't get all the way in, you can come and put quickwood over the top of these and just paint them black. And that would help support them a little more. So that is a little clue if you decided that you wanted to do that. Now I would have liked my leaf a little bit lower there. But we'll just, we may even move him to this side. We will take a look at that and see as we're working and playing with it and messing with it. But we can always change things. That's what's so fun. Alright, so we want to think about now going this bigger piece here. I took a bigger wire piece here and took it up here. This is probably split 50-50 because we got two ones going out here and kind of one wiggle and up that way. So I think we're close enough. Let's just go for it. We'll leave those with our clips. We're going to put 3 clips in your kits. And I do want these kind of even if possible because I want to branch them down into the holes divided up. It doesn't matter if you had one that was 3 and 2, but if you can do them evenly, that's a plus, I guess. So we're going to start wrapping this guy. And we want it nice and tight, trying to put both of those, move those at the same time, not having one overlap the other one too much. You want to make sure you have enough wire. We're going to do a spool of wire in your kit. You should probably have enough for 2 or 3 of these, honestly. Should be tons of wire left over. So we're getting kind of up here. Think about how we want that to go. If you started to happen to get closer on your wire, you would want to stop twisting it as much so you didn't run out. That would be the only time that you would really want to kind of think about that. So we've got that guy. We're coming up this direction. So I'm going to get this flower out and tighten him up just a little bit here. Get him real tight. And I want to start twisting him in these as we go up. And I'm going to twist him towards the back going down. So we'll take those 2 and divide them where they would go. I'm going to twist them just a few times here. I've got 6, so I'm going to do 3 and 3. Trying to get that guy in there nice and tight with that. There we go. And I'm not going to do the whole thing, just enough to kind of get in that tight, and then we'll go down, we'll get the bottom. We want those in there really well. Don't forget, we've got to stop and add a leaf up there. 2 of our 3 leaves. Okay, so let's go back down to this bottom part. And I'm going to wrap them separately and twist it and then wrap them around just to get that on there nice and tight. Nice and tight. Now you want your flowers too close together, but we gotta get them all in here. So that's kind of important. And I'm gonna work my way, twisting these back down until I get to that center part. You could either run them up that direction, right up with those, or you can cut them off behind. I think I'm going to do a combination of both there, honestly. poke that guy down in there. So I just found another one with my fingers, so we want to make sure that we get those nice and tight. And then I'm going to put that guy to come up with those. So we've got this guy over here now. And we want to think about where we want those holes. I've got them kind of drawn. I think I actually want them up a little bit higher like that. Let's take our third flower and kind of see how he's going to sit there. Okay, we need to bring him over just a little bit. So we're going to adjust that hole. So I'm going to go ahead and put my holes in for those. I'm going to do 2 and 2. You could do 3. You could do however many that you needed to. Make sure you don't get your wire stuck up in your drill. Especially when you're drilling and you have some wire next to it. Be real careful with that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue wrapping this guy. Now remember, we're going to add that leaf up here. So we need to think about that. And I want that leaf closer to the edge. But we also need to get all of him on. And I think I'm going to try and put him through all 3 of those wires. Let's start with our beads. You don't have to do the beads if you don't like it, or if it doesn't work well for you, then don't do it. I just thought it would kind of add to that leaf a little bit. Now let's see if we can fit him on all of those. He might not. We'll see. 1, 2, and 3. Yippee! So we want to think about those coming off there. It's funny, out of all the things I do, this is the hardest thing for me to do, and it's got the bigger hole in it. And that's ironic. Okay, come on, let's go through the last thing there. You can do it. You can do it. Alright, so we've got that. That lines right up with our hole. Let's stick them through. I'm going to do 2 to the front and 1 in the back. However you think that needs to go on. Pull that again. We're going to do the same thing, nice and tight. Walk it away, walk it away, walk it away. You want it at least a half an inch, I would say. Want that nice and tight, not too tight. I know, I keep saying it again. I knocked some of my gourd off. Come in here and cut that. And I'm going to go to a little bit smaller pliers. Kind of tuck that end in. Alright. So we have that guy on. And you can decide how you want him on there. You can bend him, you can twist him, you can do whatever you want to. Now we've got this next little guy hole next to him. So I'm going to bend up to him, twist up to him, excuse me. And I've just got 3, and we're just going a little ways here. We're going to anchor that guy in. Goes to those go to the back. Actually, let's reverse that. That doesn't want to seem to go that direction. Those two want to go that way. And I'm going to twist them just a little bit more. I don't like, they look a little bit too bare to me. Need a little bit more twist to them. Okay, now let's try putting these two guys in the front and the one in the back. Alright. I think we got that one, and tuck that one down in. Make sure you get that nice and tight up there. See how that should look. That should look just very similar to the ones we did before, only they're going to be a few more added to them. And we'll twist that away. So you can see how much wire we're ending up with here. That's just about perfect. You always want enough that you have enough to work with, that you don't get too close. So 3 times seems to be just about perfect. Cut that guy off just a little bit further down there. And tuck him in. Alright, so we've got that guy. We've got this guy going right here. And we can decide if we want to do him in 2 spaces or if we want to do him in 1. And I think we'll go ahead and do him in 2s. I'm going to split him into 4 and 2. Now I'm going to kind of let these guys tell me where they need to go a little bit here. And like you can see, I'm to the edge, but what I want to do is back twist that guy a little bit, give him some of that movement. So I'm going to twist him till that part is back even with the gourd, pushing him down as I'm twisting. So now I've got that there. We'll put a hole there. He'll go in, and let's go ahead and get him in so he will be out of the way. We're going to put him right about there. Goes through. That's horrible. It sounds like a shrieking sound. If your drill bit is a little bit small for more of these, you may need to go back and get a bigger drill bit. That's fine. Drill them just a little bit bigger, but not too big. One in the hole, one underneath. Was really interesting. I actually came across this gourd a couple of weeks ago again. I've been making the gemstone trees for a lot of consignments, and I forgot how pretty this one was, and I pulled it out and I thought, man, it's just too pretty to be sitting in a corner doing nothing. We need to get it out and get it done. I believe the name of this class is Sedona Sunset. If you saw Sedona at sunset, Arizona has the most brilliant colors, probably from all the dirt in the air, but we have the most beautiful sunsets. And the red cliffs, you can't beat a sunset here. to our next one. So I'm going to continue wrapping this one. So we've got this done now. Now looking back on this, I actually wish I would have put this leaf here. But that's the great thing about it. You can prove on it, you can do whatever. So I'm looking at this flower and I want it clear up here. So I want to do 3 sections, and I kind of played with my leaf a little bit. We got one more leaf to put in, and I placed it here and I placed it over here. It does not go over here. It definitely goes over here. So we want to get one over there. At least one over there. So I'm going to mark that hole. And I want one that far out for my flower. And then I need one in closer. So I'm going to at least break that into 3s. So I'm going to drill those holes. I just want to double check that flower just to make sure. Yeah, I think I want that over that far because we got that leaf to get in. So again, make sure you remove your wires. Let's get those holes put in just so we know where we're headed to. Make sure you don't get them too close to the edge. And like I said, I'm going to break this one into 3s here. But I'm going to do 2 first. So, I think I'm going to leave that one with 3. And I've got to go all the way down to here and get this nice and tight. I got this guy, I gotta get him wound around. So we have 3, 6, 7. Let's get that 3 on that side. So we've got that. Okay, there we go. And we're off. So we're going to take this up a little bit, not a lot ways. And separate those. And this guy's just going to go up to the right here, so I'm probably just going to get him up there and do him first. Actually, I'm going to split the other one's twisting around where I have more for this one than this guy. We talked about make sure you kind of have the same length, and he was actually one of the little guys, so we're going to twist him around. We've got more of him. We actually have more of both of those, so we can twist those around our poor little guy. Little naked wire here.